Thank you. I'm James Smith. I'm from Brigham Young University. I kind of tagged along on this project. My specialty and focus area, as some of you may know, is actually interpersonal trust and how that relates to construction projects. This project, Zofia Rudkowski was unable to attend this year, unfortunately. She was my advisor, and she felt like it related to my previous work, and so she kind of, at the tail end, brought me in on it, and it just worked out that I was here, that I could present it as well. So Mutzafar actually did all of the work on the project, and it looks like the presentation has changed since he sent it to me, so this is going to be exciting for all of us. It's going to be great. I would say that I think what really strikes me about this paper, though, I assume the paper stayed the same. What struck me about the paper, and that I think is an important concept to me, is that the systems within which we interact have an impact on our behavior. I think we all like to believe that our behavior is going to be the same regardless of the scenario that we're put in, but in truth, that's a very small percentage of the population that's able to hold the exact same morals and values regardless of situation. And it's very hard to assess that, but that's where I think this paper, to me, kind of struck a chord, is that we're talking about the systems within which we interact, which in construction generally we call project delivery methods, and I think this social network analysis fits very nicely into it. It's very much a theoretical paper, so there's not much data to share, but there are a few pieces that I really like about it. So he started off talking about corruption. Many of you will have seen, and we're already familiar with the idea that corruption happens easily in construction. What he's getting at here basically is that some delivery systems encourage or support corruption more so than others do, right? And support unethical behaviors, unintentionally, generally speaking. Many of you will have seen this picture before. In fact, I think I used it in a presentation here a while ago, but the traditional model of delivery projects has established a reputation in construction, at least in the States. I don't know if this translates exactly to everybody's countries. Yes? Okay. Good and bad, I guess, but good that you get it. But yeah, so this behavioral pattern that we've established within the traditional delivery method is not good going forward. It's something that needs to be changed. And I think we could all agree that good people have also been a part of creating this reputation, right, for our industry. And I think a lot of that hinges on the delivery method, the traditional delivery method as I've been built that we're using so much. He makes a note here about behavior being a cause of corruption. And there's a citation to that. I don't know that there's a different cause of corruption. Ultimately, it's our behaviors that result in corruption. Fritz, you may be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but in the end, it's behavior that results in corruption. But I do think, again, that the system that we're acting in can influence that. So a few of the common delivery methods, you just got design, build, and then IPD up here. I think you can see, and many of you that have studied delivery methods can see the sort of evolution of the delivery method, right? As we recognize that collaboration, the value of collaboration outweighs the value of what we thought was giving clear lines of liability and knowing exactly who was responsible for what, right? That was one of the benefits of traditional, but we're realizing that the sort of ancillary effects of that were so negative that we needed to change this one collaborative model. So we're slowly getting there. Where I think this is interesting is here when he pulls up these social networks, right? So he's showing 3 types of social networks here. Each of those circles represents an individual, and in the first one, which is very similar. In fact, I may skip and see if this slide is still in here. Oh, my favorite slide's gone. Oh, there it is. There it is. All right. So this is, I think, my favorite slide of what he put together here. And you can see in each of these delivery methods, they actually tie quite nicely to these social networks. They're also widely known. Okay, and so you've got the dotted lines that are weak relationships or indirect relationships, and then you've got the solid lines that represent a strong relationship, right? And in the first case, what's called a structural hole basically means that it's very easy for people, and it actually encourages people to act against the best interest of the person that they're not connected to. That is improved in the mixed model, but it's also still a possibility now for people to, an easy tendency for people to gang up, right, and to gang up against one of the other parties. And in design build, as we've been involved in design build projects, that's an easy possibility, right? Architect and contractor gang up against the owner. So it's an easy possibility. Versus what's called a Somalian tie, and I wasn't familiar with this term prior to this, but the idea is that all of the parties, you have to have at least 3. It's an important piece of it, but 2 is not enough for a Somalian tie. The third party, 3+ is the idea, but in that you have a strong relationship between each of the parties, and then they're all interconnected so that the influence stays very central, right? And people's interaction stays very central. It's good on many fronts, but as far as ethical behavior goes, it's very good because it discourages unethical behavior when you have 2 people that you're tied to, that you're strong relationship with, and you're interacting in the same project, right? If you think about that for a minute, it makes good sense, right? You wouldn't want to turn someone that you're working in a strong relationship with, you wouldn't want to act unethically towards them, even unintentionally. What do I got here? I skipped half the slides, so I'm going to have to apologize to you. 3 minutes. Oh, okay. We'll back up just a little bit. Many of these things you've seen previously, and I won't go into them real strong, real hard, but the transactional contract versus the relational contract. I think part of what I appreciated again about this paper, this is a new PhD student. This is kind of the first foray into this topic for him. I think he's touching on very relevant principles and theory that's very impactful. And I think everybody's probably heard presentations about transactional versus relational contracts. But I appreciate that he tied it to that social network so we can see on a broader level, social level, that these types of contracts and these types of interactions encourage us to be better, right? Encourage us to behave better by virtue solely of the system that we're placed in. So I hope that makes sense. I think that's really the point that I'd like to make with this. And that's why I love IPD. I think IPD is a fantastic system. I think there's room to grow. I don't know what the next evolution of project delivery is exactly, but I imagine that it will be minds in this room that will be pushing that delivery system. But I love that it puts people in a situation. I even heard a contractor one time say to a contractor and an owner working on 2 different projects. One was IPD and one was a traditional delivery. And the owner said to the contractor after, he said, "Why are you so different on this other project?" And they didn't realize it, right? They didn't know that they were behaving differently based on the system that they were in. And so with that, I think I can close. That's the major point of the paper. Any questions? Did I make my time?
On the question